All right, everyone. It is Wednesday, October 12th. This is Pat Finn, and I am recording here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Really excited for this weekend. Really excited for this interview. Before the season started, we looked at the schedule and we said, hey, who can we bring on from the other fan bases that would love to come on and do a little preview for the opposition? And Danny Boy Kane, internet famous Danny Boy Kane, Miami Hurricanes legend Danny Boy Kane, stuck out. I've seen this guy on Twitter for years. I've seen his stuff on YouTube. I know about the bear rumors, the swine flu rumors, and I know how much this guy absolutely loves Miami Hurricanes football. He's been following them for almost 40 years. So Danny Boy Kane is joining the show, and we are very fired up. He just went on the Dave Portnoy show last night, so it's going to be a tough act to follow, but that's going to be exciting. Now, before we get into it, a couple of quick things, a couple housekeeping things. As you all know, we are brought to you by our friends at the Main Street Pharmacy, where Dr. Lord Jeremy Counts will greet you with a smile. He will fill your prescription. He will take care of you, because at the Main Street Pharmacy, you are not a number. You are a neighbor. You can see Jeremy on game day doing JMO shots over at Hokie House. Go say hello and tell him the son sent you when you see him at Hokie House, when you see him at the Main Street Pharmacy. A couple of things here. Knitlow, that's with a K. Knitlow with a K. We are doing a t-shirt collaboration with our friends at Knitlow. Really excited for this collaboration. Center Street Athletics t-shirts. We're going to have maroon ones. We're going to have gray ones. And we're going to be looking to sell them out of some Blacksburg establishments, but we can also get them online. Check out social media over the next few days for the Knitlow collaboration that we are doing. If you're a Virginia Tech Hokie and you have a product, you're an entrepreneur, you want to collaborate with the Sons of Saturday, that's exactly what we did here with Knitlow. Please reach out to us. We are more than happy to put our heads together and make things work. Want to also give a shout out to our friends at the University Club. We will be doing a post-Miami podcast at the University Club on Sunday. Excited to check it out. They got unbelievable brunch on Sunday. Shout out to the brunch pail lunch, or the brunch specialty there. If you use code SOSVT to join the University Club, so essentially tell them the Sun sent you in your membership of the University Club, that coupon code will be good for Chef's Table lunch, included for free of charge for your first month of University Club membership. That's no cash value. Please reach out to Sons of Saturday or the University Club if you have any questions. And lastly, if you are going to the NC State game, come tailgate with us. We are doing the Virginia Tech Alumni Association tailgate. We will be tailgating in the lot next to the stadium, right next to the hockey/basketball arena in Raleigh. Tickets are $30. They include a buffet. They include drink tickets as well. It gets started up at 3:30. So if you don't want to have to worry about, hey, can we pay X amount of money for a parking pass close to the stadium? I want to set up my own tailgate. We got to go to Kroger and get everything. No, throw that out the window. Come to the Virginia Tech Alumni Association tailgate. We will be there having fun, giving out koozies, maybe creating some content, I don't know, before our showdown with the Wolfpack. All right, let's get into this interview. Danny Boy Kane, we will talk to you in a few. All right, everyone, it's Wednesday night, 7:39 Eastern time here. We are kicking off an interview with a Miami Hurricanes internet legend, Daniel Rivera, a.k.a. Danny Boy Kane. Excited for Saturday. Danny, welcome to the Sons of Saturday. How's it going?
Good evening. Good evening, guys. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself. Virginia Tech Twitter, Virginia Tech Hokie Nation. What should we know about Danny Boy Kane here?
what we should know about Danny Boy Kane is a loyal Kane fan since 1980. A diehard Canes fan, seen all the great teams, uh, all the great teams we had, all the championships we've had. Um, simply a diehard Kane till the day I die. That's the way it is.
There you go. And Danny, I listened this morning, but you went on the Dave Portnoy show yesterday.
I did. I mean, that's been a 10-year run in the making. There, he's wanted me. Dave Portnoy has wanted me for a very long time, and after 10, I thought about it. I really thought about it. Slept on it the night before, and I decided after much deliberation with myself to go through with it. Finally, let's get it done.
There, yeah, I loved it. Is your phone charged?
And yes, you could, just for the record, my phone is charging as I'm talking to you.
There we go. That's awesome. The Portnoy show, I know that's bright lights and high stakes. How do you think your performance was over there with Dave?
I don't know. I think I did okay. I mean, it could have been better. Let's put it that way.
You did a good job, Danny.
I think it was well.
Well, we're fired up about this chat here. And before we jump into a little bit of Hokie history, we got to pay the bills, Danny.
Yes, you do.
Brought to you by our friends over at CMG Leasing in Blacksburg. Today, we're going to talk to you guys about Cedar Point Apartments. They got studios and 2-bedroom apartments for lease up over the next year. They are fully furnished. So all you got to do is bring in your TV. Hit up Best Buy or Target, get your TV, plug it in. Everything else is covered. They got internet, they got water, and trash included in the rent as well. Plenty of amenities, whether it's the fitness center, bike storage, and a pet-friendly community dog park, and of course, the community pool on the sun deck. Mention Sons of Saturday at Cedar Point and take a tour of the Cedar Point property, and they will give you a $15 Sharkies gift card. I know that when I was in college, a $15 Sharkies gift card would have meant a lot for me. If you are the parent or the uncle or the cousin of a college student, tell them about Cedar Point. Tell them about the Sharkies promo we got going on. And check out the ticket giveaway on our Instagram page as well, giving out 8 tickets to the Miami game on Saturday. All right, so Danny, Saturday's game, 12:30 on the regional sports networks. A fall from grace here. Normally we're expecting Virginia Tech and Miami to be on ABC at 3:30 or 7 o'clock or, what have you. But Saturday is the 40th meeting, and Miami leads the series 24-15. And the Hokies and the Hurricanes have had, a fair share of a balance over the time in the ACC. They've split the last 16 games down the middle since ACC expansion in 2004. But Danny, you mentioned you've been a fan of Miami since the 80s. You've seen the Big East rivalry of the 1990s between Tech and Miami, and you've seen, the early 2000s as well. What was your perception of Virginia Tech back then, and how has it changed, to today?
Virginia Tech, you know the deal. Frank Beamer, Bud Foster. Special teams, defense, running the football. That's been the Virginia Tech MO. You knew what you were getting when we faced Tech. The lunch pail mentality. You knew what you were getting. You were getting a tough defense. You were getting a physical running team that could pound the football. But of course, the MO of Virginia Tech was special teams, especially the block punts, or as people will call it, Beamer ball.
You're darn right. And now today, in 2022, how has that changed for you?
It's changed. I mean, the last coach, Justin Fuente, I mean, from what I understand, you guys up there, he really alienated that fan base up there, from what I understand. I mean, yes, there was some good moments, but really a lot of bad with Fuente. I mean, he alienated a lot of fan base. I mean, Brent Pry now, he's trying to bring back the legacy of Tech. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he a grad assistant under Beamer?
He sure was. Yeah, he was under Coach Foster. I believe it was like 95 and 97. So he played a part in some of those epic Miami Tech games in the 90s.
Yes, I mean, you look about. I mean, Brent Pry's the right guy. I think he'll bring you guys back, just like what we have here with Mario Cristobal, who was an offensive lineman in the late '80s, early 90s. I mean, he wants to bring the legacy of winning back to the University of Miami, and that's something I think he will do, given time. The same, I think, with Brent Pry and Virginia Tech.
That's exactly right, and I think we can align on that. And I know it's going to be different. You guys have some NIL opportunities that we might not have in Virginia Tech, whereas we're purely trying to build on the state of Virginia and culture and guys who want to be at Virginia Tech. But regardless, we have the same sentiment as we could see what this program can be. Now let's go out and do it and get back to the top of the mountain here. So, Danny, this might be brutal for you, but I'm going to run down some of my favorite Virginia Tech wins over the course of this series.
Please do.
Don't worry, though. I'm going to give you a chance to talk about your favorite Miami wins from the series.
Fair.
All right, so I'm going to start in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
This is Tech's first ever win over Miami in the Big East. J.C. Price, who was our now defensive line coach, he had 4 sacks that game, and he had 11 tackles that game. And Tech used that game as a winning streak, won 10 straight, and won the Sugar Bowl over Texas. So we always remember that 95 game. I'm going to fast forward to 2003. Miami comes into town having like a 30, 40 game, undefeated regular season streak. And Brock Berlin throws a few picks. D'Angelo Hall strips Roscoe Parrish, and Tech wins 31-7. 2004. Tech wins the ACC championship de facto on a Brian Randall pass to Eddie Royal down in the Orange Bowl. Tech wins 16-10. Miami only had 2 first downs on offense the entire day down in the Orange Bowl. 2009, 31-7 victory for Virginia Tech over Ja'Cory Heisman in the pouring down rain with a blocked punt with a defensive touchdown. 2011, 4th down and Logan. Logan Thomas takes a 4th and 1 QB keeper right up the middle. This was a quarterback battle. Stephen Morris was the quarterback for Miami at the time. And then the last play of the game, we press pause. Enter Sandman comes on, and Al Golden is sitting there living a nightmare as Enter Sandman blares before the final play of the game. And Mike Patrick from ESPN had a fantastic call of that event. And I got 2 more for you. 2016, Thursday Night Football in Lane Stadium, the Brad Kaya sack fest where Tech sacked him 8 times on the way to victory. And 2019 is the, which pains me to say, Danny, the Hello Hendon Hooker game and Dalton Keene with 3 receiving touchdowns. So that's my fun here. I know it's been tough 2020 and 2021 against the Hurricanes, but Danny, I'm going to turn it over to you. What are some of your highlights and favorites from this series?
Gotta say 2000. I mean, the year before, you started, if there was any doubt Miami was going to be back as a national power after Florida State, the Virginia Tech game erased all doubts, even though Michael Vick was hurt. I'll remember 2005. The 2005 game. I remember game day that morning. You remember game day was in town that weekend.
Yep. 3 versus 5.
Get to us. And everyone said Virginia Tech, and I heard Herbie himself say these exact words to that extent, Virginia Tech would not lose the rest of the way. And everyone thought they were going to go maybe to the national championship game as number 2. That turned out not to be the case. I want to say the next one would be 2001. The last game of the season, the play where, there was like that Virginia Tech closes the gap, and then Ed Reed was the one that saved the day for the University of Miami that night.
We had the block punt for a touchdown, and then we had the dropped 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that was 2001. 2002, the high-scoring 56-45 game. to end the season. I think that was a game to end the regular season. I believe. I could be wrong on that, but that
Yep,
was
December.
a high scoring game at the Orange Bowl. Maybe the highest scoring game of this series. And I mean, those are the games that stand out to me, to be quite honest.
You picked some good ones. For me, if I were to add to your list, Danny, I would say 2017. It was the 2017 game. I went down to Coral Gables, and that was a big time Virginia Tech Miami game, and that was right after Miami had rolled Notre Dame. I think the week prior.
We beat Notre Dame the next week.
Okay,
so it was the week before.
Put it up. And that was
the week before.
That was the year that Pitt happened at the end of the season, right?
Yeah, that was the Pitt game at the end of the year. We lost the final 3 games. It's been one of those, It's been one of those. And it's going to be sad after Saturday because we won't see Virginia Tech for a while on a yearly basis.
That was my next question. So with the new scheduling format, Miami gets Boston College and Florida State and Louisville as the rotation. Every year Miami will see those 3 teams instead of seeing, the typical coastal format. Virginia Tech is going to play Wake Forest, Pittsburgh, and UVA. BC, Florida State, and Louisville. I'm sure you only really want the Florida State game. Am I right?
Yeah, I would say Florida State. I throw in BC because it's a big alumni base up in the Northeast. But I was pretty surprised with Louisville. Honestly, I was surprised. Yeah. I thought we would have kept you guys as that 3rd team.
I was going to say too. It seemed that Tech was destined to keep the Miami game and keep the UVA game, and I understand the Pittsburgh because we get the Big East, but for Miami to get Louisville and for us to get Wake Forest, it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand what the goal is for the conference, but. At the end of the day, maybe the ACC sees Tech Miami as more of a Big East rivalry of the past, and the showdowns haven't been as electric.
It's been very tough in recent years. Very tough the last couple of years.
Yeah. So Danny, have you been up to Lane Stadium? Have you been to any?
I have not. I have not been up to Blacksburg. I understand that's quite an experience.
It is quite an experience. It's going to be different on Saturday. I don't think we've played Miami at 12:30 at home, at least in my adult life, or as far back as I can remember. But now tell me, Billy Ray, who is one of the co-hosts of this show, he wanted to ask you this: if you could power rank the Coastal, if you could power rank your level of hatred for teams in the Coastal, who would you kind of consider your rivals inside of the Coastal? Who is Miami's rivals outside of the Coastal? We had this whole thing for the Carolina game. Is the Carolina game a rivalry? Do they see us as a rivalry? But, from your perception, talk to us about the Coastal Division, who you see as a rival. And biggest rival
for me has got to be Carolina. Hell, they've beaten us 4 straight years. And, of course, Virginia Tech, the Big East rivalry for many years. Another one, I would say those are the big 2, in my opinion. Virginia, not so much, although Virginia's rebuilding as well with Tony Elliott there. But if you have to talk rivalry, definitely Carolina 1 and Virginia Tech 2. It's going to be sad when we don't go with both those teams anymore.
I was going to say you guys lost the Carolina game too, and
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, so it's been tough because as much as we can get up and get excited for playing Pittsburgh or playing Wake Forest, and you guys, the same for Louisville, or I don't even know if Boston College is that exciting too. It's a bummer that Tech, Miami, and Carolina won't be on a rotation. That's for sure.
No.
All right, Danny. So let's talk about the game a little bit. Let's talk about your team a little bit. So Miami's 2-3. Virginia Tech's 2-3. You guys had Middle Tennessee State blunder. You had the A&M game, and then last week against Carolina. So we both have, a loss to Carolina in our rear view. They're the only common opponent. But you come into the season with high expectations, as Miami does most years, with a fire-powered head coach and a guy like Josh Gaddis. and a returning quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, who set the world on fire his freshman year. Would you say that Mario Cristobal is on schedule right now? Would you say, that these blunders were forecasted or unforeseen? As a Miami fan, as passionate as you are, what are your thoughts right now, 5 games into the year?
I expected higher things. I expected to be at least 4-1, at worst 4-1 going in, or maybe 5-0. This didn't turn out that way. Mario Cristobal said, "Hey, this is going to take longer than he thought. This was going to be a bigger rebuild than we thought." Okay. Listen, it's like a tree. You put a seed in the tree, and you put good soil in there, and you let it flow. You let it grow. I think by the end of the season, you're going to see the fruits of Mario Cristobal's labor pay off with this team. That's the way I think I see it.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you see? Would you say the Miami fan base is seeing eye to eye with that take? Are there some folks who are, up in arms?
I think some are coming around to it, but though some of our fan base in Miami are not happy with Josh Gaddis right now. I mean, Josh Gaddis has taken a lot of heat down here for what he's done with the offense. That is not creative enough. Yes, he's a Boyles Award winner, but some are thinking in Michigan, he didn't call the offense. I think someone else did, and I could start to understand why people are criticizing Josh Gaddis and why Harbaugh canned him at Michigan because of the offense.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. So you got Tyler Van Dyke as your quarterback, and he pretty much got benched in that Middle Tennessee State game. Is that what happened? Because I know that the backup, Jake Garcia, is, he's played in 3 of the games. What's the quarterback situation going into Saturday?
Tyler Van Dyke's the starter. Did well last week. I mean, this team did not quit. This team came around. I mean, got better as the season went on. Felt we could do better. I think we'll get better as the season goes on. I mean, yes, it's a big rebuild. It's a big undertaking to rebuild this team, but I think we will get better as the season goes on, and Tyler Van Dyke will get better.
Van Dyke, 120 or 112 completions, 175 attempts. He's completing 64% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I think most ACC or most Power 5 teams would look at that stat line and say, I'd like that quarterback on my team. So I think I think you're spot on with that.
Okay.
So the Canes, you guys are averaging 32 points a game. That's good for 46th. And then you're giving up 21.8 points per game, which is good for 43rd. So very much, a middle-of-the-road Power 5 team at this point.
Yes.
Who are some guys that we should be watching out for on the offensive side of the ball?
I think you got to look at Henry Parrish, Jalen Knighton, of course, Van Dyke. Also, you got to look at Frank Latson, the Clemson trainer. All right, sorry about that. We lost a little power there, but anyway,
we're
back. So you asked about the off. Also, Michael Redding the third. He's missed. I call him all reliable because he'll make the tough catch when you need to. Keyshawn Smith, our wide receivers, but our tight end, we lost the Royal to an ACL. This ACL is supposed to be. They have very high on him. Jaleel Skinner, who the coaches are very high on at tight end, and Will Mallory. I mean, I don't know which Will Mallory you're going to get. I mean, but he is a pretty solid tight end who's Van Dyke's favorite target.
Leading rusher is Henry Parrish. He's got 378 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, 13 receptions, 93 yards, and 2 scores. So Henry Parrish is going to get the ball a lot.
Yes.
And you got guys on the outside. I mean, you mentioned Michael Redding. You mentioned Keyshawn Smith, Ladson Jr. all of them are about at the 200-yard mark on the season for receiving yards. So there's a lot of guys that Tyler Van Dyke is able to throw it to here. Will Mallory, that is a guy that, I mean, was he all ACC last year? I know he's
Yeah,
a guy. What do you mean? What do you mean when you say which Will Mallory is going to show up?
yes,
Because I know his number's
it's the one that's the one that doesn't drop passes in big spots. That's what I mean by that. But he's the kind of guy that can get you the tough yards when you need it. But he's not a good blocker in the passing game.
I gotcha. Okay, and then as far as the offensive line, your assessment right now, if you're giving them a grade 5 games into the season, on the run block side and on the pass pro side,
I got to give maybe a B minus, quite honestly. Reason being, yeah, the protection's good, but you got to hold blocks a little longer. You got to be consistent, and I feel we haven't played our best yet, but I think we will by season's end.
Now, flipping over to the other side of the ball, allowing 262 yards through the air, allowing 102 yards on the ground. So pretty solid rush D. 364 yards total on defense each game. I know some of the leading tacklers you got on the defensive side of the ball: Corey Flagg, James Williams, Cameron Kinchins. Who are some of the playmakers and stars that we should be watching out for from Miami on Saturday?
How about Leonard Taylor in the middle on the defensive line? You have to look at maybe Harrison Hunt in the middle there. Jafari, of course, Harvey on the outside. Like you said, Agent Zero, James Williams is the kind of guy who some of our fans think should move to linebacker because he's not going to be a safety for too much longer. Tariq Stevenson, the Georgia transfer. I mean, he's been up and down. DJ Ivy, our fans have torched DJ Ivy over and over again because he gives up big plays, and some have said he needs to never be on the team again, from what I understand. I find that to be totally ridiculous, to be quite honest. Al Blades has really been a big player, especially on special teams. I mean, he's the kind of guy. I know last week he had an opportunity to get the onside. Eventually, fortunately, he was out of bounds. But he's the kind of guy that can make a big play for you on special teams when you need it. And on special teams, Keyshawn Smith is one of our better returners out there. So we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think the defense, we will get better as the season goes on. But I also forgot, keep an eye on Keontra Smith. I mean, he's a kind of guy that's like a hit. He can hit you very, very hard. He's one of those hard hitters, back like an old school guy back in the game. Also, Gilbert Frierson at the star position, somebody you want to watch there.
Danny, the defensive line. I know that Miami has had some star-studded defensive linemen over the years, and some guys that I think of immediately right now. Quincy Roche was a guy that we wanted in the portal a few years ago, and he ended up choosing Miami. And then obviously Gregory Rousseau, super talented guy on the line as well. If you were to rate the defensive line, from 5 games in so far. From getting pressure on the quarterback, from disrupting the run game. How's the defensive line looking?
Defensive line, I think, is about a B minus. Also, I think we could be better. We could be better. There. We're getting to the quarterback. We got to May a couple times last week, but basically we got to put more pressure on. We got to put more pressure on, really, quite honestly. And the secondary, when you have a chance to get an interception, don't make drops. Don't have to, and don't get beat on the outside, because that's been our weakness this year. We've gotten beat on the outside. When they go on the edge, that's been a weak spot of ours this year. And also tackling has been an issue at times. It's been an issue for several years, and hopefully we can get that rectified too.
Danny, it sounds like we have a lot of similarities here, in our football teams, as far as we've been having some issues with tackling. We've been having some issues with getting pressure on the quarterback. Last week, Keaton Slovis's jersey was pretty unscathed. I think we sacked him one time, like towards the very end of the game. And, on the offensive side of the ball, we're having some issues with, just getting open, getting separation for our wide receivers. And now that we have Malachi Thomas back, as our number one back, it would seem that him and Keyshawn King are going to be a pretty good 1-2 punch here. That's going to open up our game a lot. I also want you to look out for Daquan Wright. He's a tight end freshman, similar to your guys' freshman standout tight end that people are really excited about, and he got the ball a lot late in the game last week against Pittsburgh. But I think our programs are in a very similar place right now. You guys probably have a lot more talent than we do on the field, but at the end of the day, everyone's got to play 4 quarters and 60 minutes here. So what we're gonna do is do a little bit of some over/unders, some score predictions here.
Sure.
Before I let you go, Danny. And so we're going to pay some more bills.
Of course.
This is NFL related. The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code SOS to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code SOS only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, so Danny Boy Kane, my guy Grant Watson, one of our friends of the podcast, he always submits some over-unders every single week. So I'm going to run through some of these with you, and I want you to give us an over or an under. Okay?
Sure.
All right. So Virginia Tech running back Malachi Thomas rushing yards 80, over or under?
For us to win, we got to be under. Got to be under. I mean, can't let him run wild on our defense. So I'm going to go under on that.
Danny is taking the under. I will take the under on that as well. I'm going to take the over in all-purpose yards for Malachi Thomas. I think we could get 65 rushing yards out of him and another 35 in the receiving game. But I think it will be a productive day for Malachi Thomas. Danny, Grant Wells, starting quarterback for Virginia Tech, passing yards 260, over or under?
What we did against Drake May last week, we Drake May, for the most part, I mean, in the second half, we pretty much took him away. But I got to say, for Miami to win this ball game, we got to be under on that.
Yeah, so Miami is giving up 262.6 yards through the air per game. So that would be below the average. Miami would need to have a above average day on defense. Grant Wells would need to have a below average day. But Danny, I got to take the under there as well. I think he is going to have a under 260 passing yards on Saturday. And then Tyler Van Dyke, passing yards 290, over or under?
Got to go over. I mean, the reason I say that is because last week he passed for almost 500 against a porous Carolina defense. But basically, I think for us to win, I think about another solid 300-yard passing game from Tyler Van Dyke, our quarterback, and everything on offense. Everything's got to be clicking on all cylinders in that game for us to win. And I know Blacksburg. Yes, I know Blacksburg's a letdown. I understand it's a sellout up there, but it's not the night game that we're used to. But still, that's a dangerous team up there. I'm gonna probably go the over on Van Dyke.
Over on Van Dyke, 290. Okay, I'm gonna go under. We have Alan Tisdale back in our linebacking core. Now, Danny, if you remember this, the 2019 game was the game that Hendon Hooker essentially revived Virginia Tech in 2019 after getting stomped by Duke the previous week on national television on Friday night. In that game, towards the end of the game, one of our defensive players, you may have seen him standing in the end zone, clearly projectile vomiting on the field at Hard Rock Stadium. I don't know if you remember that. His name is Alan Tisdale, and he is back on Saturday after dealing with an eligibility issue. So
Okay.
You have been warned. You have been warned about Alan Tisdale. He's back.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to finish it up with a score prediction here. Miami is a 7-point favorite as of now. I saw 7 in some spaces. I saw 7.5 in others. Danny Boy Kane, what is your score prediction for Saturday?
I guaranteed a win last week. Obviously, that didn't happen. I thought we would, but I'm not guaranteeing a win this week. Let's put that issue to bed right now. I really think going up on the road, we have both teams are a 3-game losing streak. I think we come out. Miami comes out ready to play this ball game, and I think we have a solid game from Van Dyke and the offense, and the defense. I think gets 2 takeaways. I'm gonna go Miami 31, Virginia Tech 17.
Okay, you heard it here. Miami 31, Virginia Tech 17. Danny, I'm going to challenge you to a wager here. Okay. Now, you're favored by 7 points.
Sure.
You're taking Miami to cover 7. Now, how about a friendly wager that if Virginia Tech wins on Saturday, you have to change your Twitter header to a Virginia Tech picture that we will send over to you.
Okay, fair enough.
It could be Lane Stadium. We'll have that, or maybe your profile picture. What about your profile picture?
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay,
I'm fair. I'm fair with that.
Okay, and we'll do it for 1 week.
Okay.
If Virginia Tech wins, if Miami wins, we'll change our profile picture. We'll change it for 3 days. We'll change it for 3 days. Because you guys are favored by 7 points. What do you think about that?
Sure, fair enough. Sounds right.
Okay, all right. We'll shake on it over here. But other than that, Danny, we're pretty much wrapped up. Now, I want to give you an opportunity for 2 things. One, do you have any hot takes? Do you have any takes that you want to throw out there to Hokie Nation about your Miami team, about your Miami Hurricanes, or any message that you want to put out there?
Let's hope for a solid ball game. I mean, it's going to be a good atmosphere up there. There's an Enter Sandman. I mean, I enjoy listening to that. Of course, Mariano Rivera. I mean, with the Yankees. When the Yankees played Virginia Tech a couple years ago there, Mariano Rivera, of course, great pitcher with legendary Hall of Fame pitcher with the New York Yankees. I enjoy listening to Enter Sandman. That's just quite an atmosphere. But at night it's even more so. But that's gonna be the shame of not having this game after Saturday, not getting to hear Enter Sandman in that building. I mean, that's quite an experience.
It sure is. We're looking forward to it on Saturday. And then our last thing here, Danny, it's called Sharky Shoutouts, our favorite place to go in Blacksburg for a bite to eat or for a drink. If you ever come to Blacksburg, Danny, after we get our alignment settled and we get to play Miami again, we'll have to take you out at Sharky's. But
okay,
we want to give you the opportunity to shout out anything you got going on, whether it's the Miami fan base, anything Miami related, any one of your relatives, whatever you want to plug right now. This is your opportunity.
Okay,
we'll give you the spotlight.
I am interviewing, as you know, Mike Burnop tomorrow. I couldn't get Bill Roth tonight, unfortunately. I mean, his schedule was pretty busy, so I could not get him. I tried to get him on my podcast tomorrow, but I know he's tied up tomorrow and Friday, obviously. I will interview Mike Burnop. I'm sure you know who he is. He is the color analyst, if I'm not mistaken, for Virginia Tech. And I'll be interviewing him for my podcast. It'll be recording at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. My podcast usually drop Friday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern over on my Anchor podcast channel, Miami Hurricanes Talk with Danny. And I drop a post-game podcast on Sundays after each game. But since this week I have family coming in town from New Jersey, I will probably drop the Virginia Tech post-game podcast Saturday night. So I just wanted you guys to get a heads up on that. So that's what I do. So look forward to Mike Burnop podcast drop on Friday. And if you want to join me on Zoom tomorrow, I'll send a link. It'll come on at 9 a.m. in the morning. And if you want to ask questions of Mike Burnop, you're more than welcome to come on. I will send you the link for the Zoom page just before we start, and it'll be about 30 minutes roughly.
Fantastic, Danny. I got two things for you from that. One, Mike Burnop, you're gonna love him. He's awesome. He's been doing color analysts for Tech for a very long time. Guy's been down to Coral Gables and Hard Rock and the Orange Bowl, and he will be able to give you a wealth of information. He's a ton of fun. You got to ask him about his favorite eats when he goes on the road.
I'll have to look at
Miami.
that.
Yeah, ask him about what he likes to eat. And then number two, gotta say, we two of the three hosts on Sons of Saturday, we're Jersey guys as well. I don't know if you're a Jersey guy, but where's the family coming down from?
Coming down from Jersey, from Central Jersey.
Central Jersey. There you call it Taylor ham or pork roll.
Sorry about that. I'm not things up there. Yeah, we just lost. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You're back.
All right, can you hear me now? All right, good. Go ahead. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
I was saying,
okay. Go ahead.
You're Jersey, Taylor ham or pork roll?
I don't know. If I had to say it, I would say more like a Taylor ham.
There we go. Love it. Danny, well, this has been a ton of fun, man. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. We had a lot of fun with this, and looking forward to listening to you and Mike Burnop. Looking forward to hearing your post-game podcast, and then we'll see who is on the winning end of this bet or the losing end of this bet, and we'll
yeah, good. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.